Greetings and salutations, folks, and welcome once again, as always, to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. I'm joined today by Mrs H.
Hello.
And we've left little Toby James with your parents, haven't we?
We have,
Mrs
yeah.
H. I've left them with the in-laws, or is it the outlaws? I can never remember. Anyway, today we're deep in the Forest of Bowland on this beautiful sunny day, and Mrs H will just give you a quick panoramic view of the countryside here. It's beautiful here. Now, we've come here today, Hot Potters, to take a look at an abandoned piece of Victorian engineering. And it dates roughly from about the 1920s. Way back when, close to where we are now, is Stocks Reservoir, which was built by the Filed Water Company to provide water for Blackpool, believe it or not, Mrs H.
All this way?
Yeah, all this way. It's surprising, isn't it? And Stocks Reservoir was opened in 1932 by then Prince George. Now, what they needed to do was build a dam for Stocks Reservoir, and they got the stone locally from this area. And what we're going to be taking a look at today is an old steam crane that was brought here. It was put in a temporary quarry, which is called Jumbles Quarry, and it was just abandoned. It was just left there afterwards. It was all factored in. There was a little rail link, and basically they would send the stone, once they dressed it, all the way down. And I believe that the stones were dressed by Welsh stonemasons from Merthyr Tifford. I'm sorry if I've pronounced that wrong, Graham, if you're watching this video. Me being from England, I can't pronounce Welsh names very well. Anyway, without further ado, Mrs H, we need to go all the way into there where you've just done the panoramic view. Now, it's only 3/4 of a mile from here, supposedly, but 3/4 of a mile, when you're going through moorland, can seem like 10 sometimes. I bring you to some place.
Oh, it'll all be uphill as well. It always is uphill.
So, without further ado, Hot Potters, let's do this, shall we? Right, Hot Potters, well, we have found it, haven't we, Mrs H?
We have.
Unfortunately, it's right down there.
Back in the distance.
Yeah, that little rusty gas bottle type thing. That's it. Now, it's quite big when you get to it, so we've definitely come a fair distance out. My fault, admittedly. What I didn't do, Hot Potters, I didn't take any screenshots of this area or anything. It just looked a simple path, and then I thought, well, if we just follow the old railway that leads to it, once we find the remains of that, we're on the right track, pardon the pun. Unfortunately, I turned in too quickly and we ended up coming up this hill. It's been a day out, Mrs H.
It's all been uphill. I don't know what your thing is about going up hills. We've got a nice long walk down this hill where I can just have a go at you.
Yeah, keep pecking back in the head. Anyway, when we get to it, we should be able to have a good look at it, because it's one of the best kept secrets, this Mrs H, apparently, from around here. Only gamekeepers and people like that and fell walkers knew about it, but the secret's out a bit now. Unfortunately, you just can't find any information on it, really, can you?
No.
Anyway, not to worry. downwards we go, Mrs H.
Yeah, you won't look quite so young and refreshed by the time we get down there.
In the next segment, I'll look like I've had my ear chewed off.
Oh, yes.
Right then, Hot Potters, we'll see, shall we?
Let's go.
Come on. Well, Hot Potters, we've made it all the way from up there.
Don't look much when you do that.
It doesn't, but it's been an hard climb, that, all the way down. And Mrs H has given me an ear bashing all the way down, haven't you, Mrs H?
You deserved it.
Now, as you can see, the steam crane, or the remains of the steam crane, is just behind me. And here's the remains of the little railway line that would have taken all the stone all the way to Stocks Reservoir, which you can see from up there, Mrs H.
Oh, yeah. Definitely positive for being up there.
As you can see, she's still a bit prickly from me taking her the wrong way. Right then, let's get up close and personal with this steam crane, shall we, and take a good look at it, because this is the prize of this video. So I think what we need to do now, Mrs H, is just step on that rail and over. What do you think?
One of us is going to end up in this water.
Well, hopefully it'll be neither of us.
I'll film it just in case it's you. 250 quid coming my way. Ah.
And here you can see all the remains of the rail tracks, can't you?
Yeah, leading up to it.
Obviously the water's worn it away here, but it looks like a lot of it goes underground. It's just got covered over the years. Bit of a funny colour, isn't it, that water?
It is, a very rusty colour.
It's like that ochre stuff as you see when there's mining. There's no mines up here as far as I know. There's only the works that have been carried out at this little quarry. Now the steam crane is just round that bend there. So we should get to that, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Alright, shall we push on?
Yeah, let's go. It's a bit rusty.
Yeah, just a bit. Just a bit. So here we are, Hot Potters. This is Jumbles Quarry, which I think is just a local name that the quarrymen gave it. And the reason they call it Jumbles Quarry is because of all the irregularity of the stones that are just dotted about. You would have thought they'd have gone to that big one up there, wouldn't you?
You would have, maybe didn't have the rights.
Well, apparently they needed a certain type of stone to use for that dam head at Stocks Reservoir. But this is a Smith and Rodley steam crane. Now there is one of these at Mount Sion. It's just outside of the canal. This is where Mrs H really has a go at me and said, why couldn't we have gone and seen that one? And that one featured in the old Fred Dimner things. Now what they said is a friends of Mount Sion steam crane, and they claim that that's the last one in England that's in its original position. But this one definitely is in its original position, as they just factored in the cost of this and they just left it here along with the railway lines once they completed the project. And it's amazing to think, really. Now I believe that there was talk at one time of getting this taken out of here and put in a museum. And they even approached the MOD who were doing an exercise here, and they were using, I think, Chinook helicopters, and they asked them, could they airlift it out and get it to a road, and then they could obviously take it on to a museum. The army took one look at it and told them to Foxtrot Oscar. You can work that one out for yourselves, Hot Potters. And judging from the terrain, it's no wonder why, is it?
No.
But yeah, its jib's been there, left where it was in 1924-25 when they stopped quarrying out of here. And to say it's been out here in the elements, it's still pretty good nick, really. I wonder what parts are still on this one that aren't on the one over in Bolton. And you can see where it would have ran on the rails there, Mrs H. See those?
Yeah.
And this would have been a boiler in the day, and you would have had a chimney on it. And there would have been all brass fittings on it, no doubt those was taken.
Somebody will have had them.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there's a plate on these somewhere, and it has the number on it of where it would have come from, because they used to make these in Leeds. They were the big makers of steam cranes over in Leeds, and the one at Mount Sion does have its number on, but this one doesn't. Yeah, I think it would have worked. See if I can climb up here. All these levers here, see that pedal there and that, that's how it would have worked. You would have just had a man stood on here. I don't know if there was a seat on these. I'll try and put a picture in now for you of what this would have looked like back in the day. Not this one, but one similar to it. And I'll bet this was an expensive piece of equipment back in the day, Mrs H.
It would have just to be left out here as well.
Well, if they factored it in, and probably the cost of getting it out of here would have been just too much. There's even some of the old cables still on the cable drum there on the other side, which we'll take a look at in a moment.
Impressive.
It is impressive, and I can see where they're coming from. Maybe it should belong in a museum somewhere. Or is it not better just sitting here? It's sat here for all these years, hasn't it? For all, well, close on 100 years or whatever, maybe. I wonder if they brought it in here in parts. They must have done.
They probably got it in as a whole. Or would they have just sent it down the train line?
What, built the train line and then sent it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they could have done that. They may have done that. You can still see rails here, can't you?
You can.
But yeah, this is the steam crane here at Jumbles Quarry in the Forest of Bowland, or the Forest of Bowland, should I say. Now, something Mrs H has spotted on here is a smoke generator, like a smoke grenade ring pull. Now, I don't know if those are used by the MOD or not, Mrs H. Maybe somebody out there who's watching this video can tell us, and probably that was something to do with orienteering or whatever. I'll put it back where it was. But yeah, it's beautiful. This is, I mean, it's made out of cast iron, so it'll still be here for quite a while, won't it?
Yeah. Definitely.
Probably the other side of it, if they did try and get it out of here,
It'd break.
it'd just break apart, wouldn't it?
Well, this bit's already starting to.
Yeah, well, the one at Mount Sion, there's a big hole in this boiler. And you can see the cables there. This is the cable drum that would have gone over the jib. You can see that's slowly rotting. But to say it's been here all this time,
Still standing?
it is. So we have a look at the jib at the end though.
Yeah, got them. Yeah, go forward.
I'll take a look at this. Down here. There's the jib wheel there at the end. You can see that hasn't been raised in quite a while. Here's an handle of this crane from this direction, and you can see the valley beyond where we ended up. Right, top potters, I think we'll slowly make our way out of this little area around Mrs H. It's one of those videos, this, where we've done all that walking for what, about 5 minutes. It was worth coming and seeing though. I'm glad I've come and seen it. Right, top potters, we'll whip the camera around and we'll wrap this one up. Just before we go and wrap this one up, Mrs H brought up a very good point, didn't you, Mrs H?
I did.
Well, go on, tell the hot potters what your point is.
It's leaving it here, not just littering. Because as the rain comes, and obviously it's starting to rot, that's going to get into the water table at some point. It'll go through groundwater, down into that river, and end up in our water
Like
system.
rust oxide, iron oxide.
Yeah.
You do have a good point really with that one. I mean, certainly today, if they was doing a project of that magnitude, whatever damage they did to the environment, they would have to repair it. But you've got to remember, back in the 20s, early 30s, they didn't bother about them kind of things. It's not as they didn't bother, they just never thought about it. They never thought of the impact on the environment. But you do have a point. I mean, it does look picturesque here, and certainly when you're up there, and you take a look at it. But you are right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting, but it's just what damage is that doing to our water system in the long run?
I don't know. Do you know what that's a good point for? Leave in your comments below. Do you agree with Mrs H or do you agree with Mr H that aesthetically it looks nice? Leave your comments below. Right, Mrs H, I think we'll wrap this one up here. So, Potters, there we go. An old steam crane, abandoned, here in an old quarry in the Forest of Bowland. Been sat here all this time, and no doubt it'll be sat here for many more years to come. If you do decide to come here and take a look at this yourself, don't do as I've done and take yourself and whoever comes with you all the way up that big hill though, because you'll get nagged for it, just as I've done. You've enjoyed nagging me though, haven't you, Mrs.
Yeah,
H?
I mean, you loved it.
I certainly do. Don't mind a bit of nagging, Mrs. H, but that's for another video, what, Potters. Right then, I think we'll wrap it up here, Mrs. H, and get back for little Toby James.
Yeah, Nanny and Grandad will have had enough of him by now.
Yeah, he can be a little pest like further like son.
Most certainly.
So, until the next time, from myself, Mrs. H, here in the Forest of Bowland, and this old steam crane it is, bye-bye for now.